Dorin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks. Really cool setup.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Sunny Wednesday morning.
It's Wednesday? I can't even remember.
Right, because you're just back from RSA, so your mind is like mush at this point.
Yeah.
No, we're going to have such a fun conversation. You have such an interesting background and career spanning into your role today at NightDragon. Congratulations on just yesterday. There was the public announcement of the investment in Classiq, an awesome company, and so really curious to hear, cybersecurity, but also quantum and software. So lots of things, and obviously NightDragon is a really prominent player in the cybersecurity landscape. You're a very prominent player in the Israeli cybersecurity landscape.
Thank you.
So I'm excited to get to know all about you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm excited. I've seen all your episodes so far. It's been great. So I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. How did you get started into cybersecurity?
Wow. I think in 2016, 17, I was working at Microsoft, at the Microsoft for Startups department, Shitzachi established. And there I was doing corporate access for various startups within Microsoft Accelerator and the Microsoft Ventures. Some of those startups are Big ID and Panarrays and various unicorns today that back then were young, two founders and an idea companies. So that's when I got my first sneak peek into how to build a cyber company from scratch. After about, wasn't that long, a year at Microsoft, I got recruited to Glilot. I thought I would be at Microsoft forever. I mean, it's like, when you get hired, they're like, okay, welcome to your life. You can just switch between roles and stay there for a long time, and things are always so dynamic there. But I realized it's way too big for me. I like the smaller teams where you have one person doing many, many, many different things. And of course, I was always very interested in venture capital. It's the combination of three areas that I found most interesting in life. And that's what I studied, which 1, business, 2, computers, and 3, psychology. And that's what I did my degrees in. And really...
A degree in psychology?
In all 3.
In all 3?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, it's a mix.
Yeah.
In America, you can do a major and a minor, a major and 2 minors, 2 majors.
Sure.
So I did a mix of those, Obviously, you studied in Stanford.
Yeah.
So and then when I got to Glilot, 2018, when cyber in Israel was really just picking up in VC, cyber starts had just been established, and not many people really paid attention to the cyberspace back then in terms of which are the tier 1 VCs. It was very, very different than how it is today. Glilot even wasn't 100% focused on cyber. They're still not. But, when I joined, it wasn't like the messaging wasn't we're a cyber fund.
Sure.
It was B2B enterprise software, and still today. But cyber grew with the fund and with, major trends both in the Israeli ecosystem, globally, as the attack landscape grew. Obviously, funding grew, and we'll get into all that. But when I joined Glilot, we didn't even have a CISO's advisory board. That's what my team and I built. No one had a value creation department. We were the first to build that as well. And really, many of the first kind of CISO conversations that I would have were me explaining to the CISO how it works in terms of joining a venture capital's advisory board.
Really?
Yeah. And for about 2 years, I would send, I think maybe between 30 and 50 cold emails a day to different CISOs around the world, mostly in the US, getting them on the phone. Hyper-personalized emails at specific times of the day based on where they're located. The CISOs love working out in the morning, so sending emails at around 5:30, 6 a.m. their time is great because, they're on the treadmill, on their phones, answering those emails that are not exactly necessary for their day-to-day, but kind of nice to have emails, which over time, of course, turned into strong relationships. So that's how things got started. And I guess I didn't really know much about cyber back then. I was just rolling into it and took several different intro to cyber and intro to attack paths and all these certifications.
So really, so your entrance into cybersecurity really came in from the venture capital side of things,
Yeah.
right? And from the transition from a large company like Microsoft to working with small teams and having the opportunity with Glilot and Kobe, who was sitting here just a couple of weeks ago, and so super interesting. And as you were discovering cybersecurity and the attack landscape and the different things, what resonated with you? Because you're today knee deep into cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So it feels like the effort that you've been putting in has shifted, not obviously still in venture capital, but also much more into the actual cybersecurity domain.
That's right. I never knew exactly why I really liked cyber. I mean, on one hand, it's really fun to, of course, be in the industry that is booming in Israel, right? Everyone's talking about it. It's an industry where you can make so much money and be really successful, whether you're a founder, whether you're an investor, whether you're a CISO. All around this area is just like the area to be in this ecosystem. So of course, I think I had good timing, and that was luck, right? I didn't exactly know that cyber is going to be the number one area, but we have in Israel the background and all of the pillars of success leading up to cyber being number one, everything that everyone goes through in the army. But, I didn't go to the army. And I was excused from the IDF when I was 17 years old because I lived in America. And I had to make a decision of, okay, I'm 17. I just studied for months for my ACT, took the ACT. I'm prepping for college. I'm applying to all the universities. It's a whole thing. It's like, seriously, like so much effort. And just, it takes over your life, the college applications.
Yes.
And at that point, I had to make a decision of, okay, am I going to drop everything and move to Israel now and join the army? Or am I going to continue in the path that I already was on? And I decided to continue on the path. I knew I wanted to move back to Israel, but I wasn't ready at that time. I wanted to build a foundation in America in order to have as many doors open as possible, study there, have a network there, etc. I didn't really know. Okay, I was 17, but I think it turned out okay.
So you were born in Israel. You spent up until half a year into kindergarten, you said?
Yep.
And then you tried
5.5 years old. My parents plucked me out of my really cute little, Israeli...
Where in Israel did you grow up?
כפר סבא.
In כפר סבא.
כן, היה לנו בית עם גינה. אני עדיין זוכרת. I still remember every day my dad would take me to the super and buy the milky, הייתי ילדה ישראלית. And then all of a sudden I had to be in a room full of American kids and I didn't know a word of English.
Where in the U.S.?
Chicago.
Okay.
Well, the suburbs of Chicago. Lots of Jews in the area.
Okay.
Highland Park, Northbrook, Deerfield, that area. The north suburbs, yeah.
And then that was all the way up to college, right? You were there?
Until I finished the 4-year degree.
Yeah.
University of Illinois, and then got a job right away. Graduated on I don't remember, a Thursday or something. Started work on Monday at a company called Conversant, which originally was a Goldfinger's startup, Datomi, and we were acquired after 2 years. That was my first job. Acquired for $2.3 billion. And at the acquisition, we were only 200 people, and I noticed a lot of the senior leadership, conversations were happening, and I was like, maybe now is a nice time to move. I'd also recently had broken up with a guy, and
so a good time for a change.
Yeah, I was like, okay, now it's happening.
It's happening.
I remember taking my mom for a conversation, my dad for a conversation. Each cousin, each family member, my friends, telling them I'm moving.
Wow.
And I really didn't have any plan of coming back. I was like, I'm never coming back to America. I just really loved Israel, and I was really ready to move and 1,000% committed. And if I wasn't like that, I don't think I would have... לא הייתי שורדת פה.
Yeah.
I went through a really hard first year, second year. Looking back on it, I mean, wow, it is such a different life here. And you really have to know how things work.
Right. I had a chance to experience a few people who came to Israel after college, and the first year is really rough.
Yeah.
There's some shock factor because on the surface it seems people speak English, you can get by. So many things are tourist friendly.
That's right.
But then you realize that so much of the culture is ingrained in the language and in the body language and then in the nuances, right? Is that
communication is so different. I actually didn't fully understand the lack of communication that happens in America until I got here, especially in the Midwest where I grew up. Many things are communicated via body language or just nonverbal cues. And when I got here, I really had to learn how to communicate again. And today, you know, it's funny. I mean, this is interesting timing the podcast because just a few days ago, my family, some of my family were in town. Yeah. Family that I grew up with and loved dearly, literally with all my heart. I could cry now just thinking how much I love them. And we used to go to Shabbat dinner every single Friday in America for 18 years. And they were here. And I'm finding myself, we're playing a game of, what's it called? Perudo. You know that game?
Yeah.
And I'm telling them like, yeah, shvu kvar. And they're looking at me like, whoa. I don't know. Like, I was like, I'm sorry. That was a little Israeli aggressive of me. But I really realized the difference in communication.
Sure.
And you have to be very gentle. And of course, now I work at NightDragon. And for the last 2 years, had to also kind of relearn how American culture is and how to best communicate. You know, there's that sandwich method, right? We all know what the sandwich method is.
Well, not everybody knows the sandwich method. What is the sandwich method?
Where every email should be, or every form of communication should start off something positive. Then in the middle is where you actually say what you want to say in a nice, politically correct way. And you end with a thank you so much, like something really positive. That's the sandwich method.
Sounds like a lot of also the sales dinner conversations that you do in the US.
Sales is all about that too. I think a lot of CISOs these days are really learning though how to communicate with Israelis, and I love those guys.
Yes.
I mean, they're just like, get to the point. Like, what is your startup really doing? Like, come, just explain. Like, what are you doing? Stop talking buzz to me. But yeah, had to relearn that, and I'm still really not good at it.
Which part?
The sandwich method, the whole thing. I'm just like...
Just putting it together?
I worked in Glilot for 5 years. Kobe will tell you. He just says, good, great. That's an email. That's a full, great email from Kobe.
Absolutely.
Love you, Kobe. So...
How did you even get to NightDragon?
That's a good question, too. So when I was in Glilot, I think it was about 2019, we're doing all the networking, and there's a YL Ventures event. I think it was Cyber Tech or Cyber Week. And everyone was there, and I noticed a really tall guy in a suit across the room looking like, he's the guy I need to talk to. And that was Dave. I went up to Dave thinking he'll have 10 seconds for me. I'll say hi, just introduce myself so he knows who I am, try and make a conversation. He'll probably have someone else come up to him immediately, and that'll be the end of it. Went up to him, and we ended up talking for about 45 minutes. We closed out the event. Everyone else left, and it was a great conversation. And from there, we just kept in touch. Here and there, he had established NightDragon, raised the first institutional fund throughout the years, right? And then end of 2022, after about almost 5 years at Glilot, where we had seen a lot of success over those 5 years. And still, Glilot is one of the most successful funds in the world. We really built playbooks for how to get a company from idea to exit really fast and not leave one company behind. That's the motto. Founder friendly, don't leave anyone behind.
Kobe talked a lot about that.
Yeah. And, I felt like I really got it in terms of product market fit, and of course building the Mach 5 program and building the CISO's network and learning how to build your MVP and get your first customers and your first advisors and your Series A investors. Got that. Exit in a few years, not like a huge one, but a great one. Founders get rich. Everyone is happy. But I felt like if I want to really master the way that the world works in this industry, I need to understand what happens beyond those stages. And so I started thinking about, how do the Americans really make their investment decisions? Because it's so different. And I guess it has to do with me being both Israeli and American.
Sure.
I'm always trying to really understand both sides, and because there's two sides to me. So when I understand Americans or when I understand Israelis, I understand more about me. I wanted to learn how they make their decisions, how it works there. Because if you really want your seed stage company to succeed, you must have great relations with the Americans, because they're going to be the follow-on investors. They're going to be like the make or break in the end if you want to go big. And so started thinking, reached out to Dave. He had just kind of like, NightDragon was getting started. It was maybe 2-3 years. And I said, Dave, I love what you're doing. You're building an amazing cyber VC, but how do you want to be the #1 security-focused VC without anyone in Israel, the #1 cyber capital of the world? And he was like, Dorin, you read my mind. And then I was like, great. He said, okay, I'm going to be at this location on these dates, this location on these dates. Let's meet in person. I'm going to be in London. I'm going to be in New York. He's always traveling everywhere, right? So I picked one and flew there, not knowing really what would happen. I don't think I ever told this story publicly, but okay. I didn't know what would happen. Okay, I created an entire pitch deck of, okay, this is why me? Why this role? Why now? How's the role going to look? How are we going to compete? What's the strategy? Obviously, everything is a proposal.
Right.
And I presented it to him in San Francisco in the office. Again, not really knowing what would happen, but yeah. And later that day, he was like, you're my girl.
Damn. Wow.
That was fun.
Wow.
Obviously took time to finalize everything. This was, I think, in December or even before, Thanksgiving time. And I only joined in April 3rd was my first day. So it took some time. Obviously, an American fund opening an office or hiring someone internationally. It's always logistically, you get hired and then you have to figure out, wait, how is this actually going to work? How am I going to get paid? How am I don't know, all the things you need to make it happen.
So you're now deep into the cybersecurity scene, and it's 2025. Things are shifting and changing, and I mean, I'm just looking at the new generation of cybersecurity companies opening up, and you really are seeing a shift. And whether it's AI native solutions, and whether it's saying actually let's rethink cybersecurity and let's look at it from an agentic perspective, and let's look at it from not a alerting system, but actually how do we perform an end-to-end remediation. So really, the behavior is shifting. What are you seeing that's really exciting for you in the cybersecurity landscape in 2025?
Okay. I think everything to do with agentic is up and coming. What I really think is happening right now is back in 2016, 2018, we still had a lot of on-prem infrastructure. And as we started 2018 to 2020 timeframe, cloud was picking up. Cloud adoption was the #1 focus area for many CISOs, and we started seeing all of the traditional cybersecurity categories having cloud first. Cloud first this, cloud first that. It was a copy and paste of everything we knew about cyber with a cloud first approach. With that, obviously, the attack landscape also grew. So we needed to come up with additional SynApp and, additional protections for the cloud as this new infrastructure was coming about and this new attack landscape was coming about. Now with agentic, it's the same thing, but a third layer. So now we have, in my opinion, we're going to see every category that we already know copied and pasted into an AI first, agentic pen testing, agentic SOC, agentic everything, as the AI will cause the attack landscape to grow as well. So everything to do with agentic is interesting because it's so new, and because people, traditionally large companies are not yet building agentic infrastructure, but they will. Just like in 2018, they weren't really cloud first, but today they are. It takes some time. But we as VCs need to understand exactly how it works so that we can predict how it will look in 5 years from now and know what to invest in today.
Right.
So I think in RSA, I had a lot of conversations around agentic infrastructure. That was, I think, the number one. AI security and security for AI. What are AI agents? How does the models work? You know, I sat with, I'm not sure if I can say who it is, but C-level executive at Okta. And we were speaking all about how ChatGPT actually works in the back end, how it's, you know, thousands or millions of models in the back end. And every time you write a prompt, so it actually calls the different models through API and gives you your answers. And each one of those models is actually kind of an AI agent. I might be explaining this totally wrong, but this is how she explained it, and this is how it makes total sense to me. You have various AI agents, let's say, eventually working in the back end to give you your front end. And so what I believe is going to happen, and now anyone is going to be able to code. Yesterday, I was trying to make my own app as my wedding invitation, and there's thousands of different approaches I could do it.
Absolutely.
Online. So if I can make my own app, why would I use an existing app that's not exactly what I want? I could just make it myself and then personalize it. And so now if the everyday person is going to have access to this capabilities and be able to build their own applications, the security landscape is going to grow significantly, maybe horizontally. And then solutions are going to have to keep up with that. It's kind of like thinking about SMBs, right? When you have an SMB, they don't have a CISO. They don't really care about security. They're a small business, and they usually use those MSPs to have security. Think about now millions of regular people that don't know much about cyber creating their apps. This is going to change the way AppSec needs to work, in my opinion, where we have now many millions, I don't know, hyper-personalized micro applications working in a business or consumers that need to now be secured. And each app is going to be talking to each other. And how do you know who's talking to who? Or how do you know who has access to who from an identity perspective or from that SaaS to SaaS, perspective? I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of chaos happening, it feels, and no visibility. And that's the number one thing, that CISOs want, visibility to what's going on. Later comes the remediation. But first, who's using an AI agent? What AI agents are being used? How do they communicate with one another? How does the AI agent communicate with my existing apps?
Yeah.
Do they have connections? Does my existing app see the AI agent, or is it just a one-way? There's just so many unanswered questions, kind of the known unknowns.
I think what's also really interesting in the conversations that I'm having with CISOs is that, they're well versed in these innovations that are happening, and there's so much conversation about AI for cybersecurity and securing AI and agentic and NHA. What really caught my attention is that while CISOs are conversing in these and they're really curious, the buying patterns are actually quite lagging behind, and they're really looking for a certain level of maturity before they dip in and adopt solutions. And so what I'm experiencing is that you have this new generation of startups that are tackling these new generation problems. I'm one of them, deepfakes, right? And then you have the CISOs coming in and saying, yeah, let's talk about all of that, but I'm actually not going to buy solutions until this becomes a mature enough problem that has, that the entire market agrees we need to now buy it. Right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are in the experimental phase and the learning phase. I agree 100%. I don't think they know what to buy yet because there's not a solid, mature, except for, let's say, Protect AI, right? Which just got acquired for a very significant sum.
Yeah.
And they then have validation now. I think this is now, and I've spoken to investors of other security for AI competitors to Protect AI who are now seeing a significant increase of demand for their solutions.
Sure.
One acquisition like that one or Robust Intelligence causes a whole wave of, oh my gosh, a frenzy of I need to buy this too.
And these companies are already a few years old, right? So these are companies from 2019, 2020, right? And so it's real. And now I'm looking at this new wave of companies that are doing, how do we secure generative AI and how do we secure agentics? And so it's really interesting to see that so many founders are betting on these new spaces, taking different approaches, and the market will eventually get to some of them. But really, you have to make some really significant bets as a founder here, which is not trivial.
That's right. And you also have to know how to build the right way.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the trickiest parts right now, because tech is advancing so fast. How can you make sure that you're building your company with the most advanced tech if tomorrow the tech is even more advanced than yesterday?
It's frightening, I have to say. And as an entrepreneur, when we founded the company, I was so proud that I got to bring together some of the best researchers and the best AI engineers in the world. Many of them from the Army service, from Stanford, etc. And the first year we really, created this gap, this technological gap between us and the market, and all of it. And you're seeing what's happening. And today I'm looking at the landscape, even in a deep tech problem like detecting deepfakes, and you realize that you have to just assume that practically everything that you do technologically is going to be commoditized by the multimodal foundation models. And it really forces us as entrepreneurs, I think, to shift mindset in thinking, what is our differentiation and where do we put the capital and the resources, and where do I, as founder, when I go to sleep, do I put my energy? Is it in building the product, the technology, the business, the go-to-market? And it's shifting, I think, much more to the business and go-to-market.
Interesting that you said that. Dave has always said that, let me share Dave's background for a second. Multi-billion-dollar CEO. So he sold McAfee as a CEO to Intel for $8 billion. He took FireEye public. He sold Documentum for $2.3 billion. But he wasn't the founder. Okay, and so his expertise is go-to-market, and he always says the real differentiator for a company in turning into a multi-billion-dollar organization and a hundreds of millions in ARR, if not billions, like FireEye, is go to market.
Absolutely.
And so I think you're right that now if everyone has access to this tech, so you're going to need to differentiate yourself in the business.
Which is really, I think, an interesting inflection point, especially for the Israeli ecosystem, where so much of our capacity to lead has been our technological, innovation, the speed of execution. And I'm really curious to see what's going to happen when so many of the things get commoditized. And I'm looking at the roadmap that we have for the next year. Now, this is a roadmap that we've been working on of building technological services. And today, it feels like 90% of these things are going to be based on, large foundation models that we can just utilize. And we don't have to train our own models, even though we have a team of about 10 AI researchers training models in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
A year ago, that wasn't the case. And so it really forces us to change the trajectory of how do we think about what is our role as founders and entrepreneurs here.
Yeah.
And I think that the whole ecosystem is going to have to evolve and thinking much more distribution-driven, much more go-to-market driven.
I agree. With this conversation, I'm thinking as you speak about what's going to happen. And I always like to look at the exit landscape perspective.
Yeah.
M&As until now in the last 6 years in cyber, I released that exit landscape report a couple of months ago. I'll release another version soon, showcasing, the major avenue for exits in Israel is M&A. And so I'm always thinking, what will make the corp dev want to acquire this company versus that company? And until now, most Israeli cyber exits have been between 100 to 200 million after about 4 years. And they haven't really been because of the go-to-market. Like these seed and A exits haven't been because of the go-to-market. The massive exits have been because of that. And that's where we play. And because we want to go big, right? But if you're looking to make that earlier stage exit, what's going to happen with those?
Right. Yeah.
On one hand, you really need to keep up with tech. So companies like Checkpoint, Palo Alto, et cetera, who have been really dominant acquirers of Israeli tech, will need to keep buying. But on the other hand, the big, I feel like there's going to be a split between really small and really big exits in the coming few years.
I think that you're right. I agree with you. I think that it's going to be a game of are you going to the actual solution game, distribution, go to market, or are you going to try and put an end-to-end solution with some cool technology and then quickly bring it to a company that has the distribution? And that will be determined by, do you really understand a specific customer pain point? Were you able to use a bunch of different AI tools to piece together a pipe of solution and then deliver that solution to a company that can make it really big?
Like Protect.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think channels and resellers and access to these partners is something Israelis lack, and it's going to become more important than ever. We at NightDragon, the value creation is all built on these partnerships that we have. Over 120 partners that we've signed agreements with that our portfolio companies opt into, and then get access to this global distribution, whether it's to enterprises or to the government. That's also important. Like federal sales. There's various companies in Israeli cyber that are not even selling to the government yet, and they're doing really well, which the second they really tap into federal sales, I think they're going to see an explosion of growth, and they're not there yet. So I feel like there's a lot more that these companies can do and that they will do. Even Wiz, okay, they had only become FedRAMP authorized, or what was it? They had only become FedRAMP authorized a year ago or something like that. I was tracking the different companies there to see who's going to become big in terms of federal sales. Silver4, different companies like that I think have huge federal potential, but haven't yet tapped in or reached their potential. So there's a lot more that they could do and that they will do, that we need to monitor and help. And so when Israelis think about that next step of growth, they really need to think about, okay, which investors can help me in terms of who has access to these channels and partners. And now I'm going on a sales pitch for NightDragon. But good. I know, right? I really see the difference that it makes. We're driving tens of millions in ARR for companies just through getting them in front of these partners of ours really fast and really easily. And that's something that a lot of earlier stage funds, don't focus on, rightfully so, because they're focused on product and product market fit. And the late stage funds really focus on distribution. And that's where that massive opportunity that separates the two, from an early exit to go big, go long, that's where that plays into.
Dorin, thank you so much for being here. This was so cool.
That's it? We haven't even talked on quantum. I guess we'll do it next time.
We're going to have to do a whole episode on quantum.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, and congratulations on the recent announcement.
Thank you.
And I think that we talked a lot about our prediction for what's going to happen with the market, and I think the cool thing is that none of us really know, and that it's going to play out. And I don't think 3 years ago we knew what will happen today, and I think that we're going to constantly be surprised. I do think that we're starting to see some more consistency and in the shift in consumer behavior, and I think that the level of maturity of the discussion is really rising. And so
I think the most important thing for anyone in the industry or starting out in the industry is to stay agile, to learn how to adapt, because even, we didn't talk about quantum, but quickly that's going to change the way everything works. Yes. And that's happening in like 2 years from now. We're supposed to reach quantum advantage. And then by 2030, reach full commercialization of quantum computers. And so that's going to, anchor a whole other shift and way of work that we all need to learn how to keep up with. So as long as we as humans stay agile, know how to move fast, and Israelis definitely know how to move fast, so we'll be able to keep up with that.
I love it. תודה רבה.
תודה לך.